and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of 16th of October 2023। चलिए जानते हैं आज के इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल्स हम द हिंदू। पहला जो है इजराइल रेडीज फॉर अटैक एज ए मिलियन ऑफ पीपल इवैक्यूएट न्यू इन्वेस्टमेंट शुड फ्लोड अगेन इन Q2 of 2023-24 survey. Then Binam Port on maritime map with the berthing of a fast ship. Then the Israel-Hamas conflict and Musai's analysis. The world needs to stop taking water for granted. Israel, Hamas, and the laws of war. The UN approved Kenya-led security mission to Haiti. Then study estimates count of UAVs required for the three services. Sri Lanka moves towards RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, Bangladesh in queue. Then center likely to raise age of retirement of scientists to 65. Railways develops anti-freeze process and fuel tank for journey in Jammu and Kashmir. Then Kaziranga Sanctuary reopens with a tribute to British era officers. Then Pakistan, China to team deals under CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor during Kakar's visit. Azerbaijan President raises national flag in Karabakh capital. चलिए देखते हैं वन बाय वन। पहला जो है Israel readies for attacks as a million people evacuate. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed on Sunday to demolish Hamas as his military prepared to move into the Gaza Strip in retaliation under unprecedented attacks by Hamas militants 8 days ago, with which left 1,300 people dead. Israel said it had resumed water supply to southern Gaza on Sunday as 1 million people evacuated on northern part of the besieged territory to escape the looming ground offensive and retaliatory airstrike. This will push the civilian population to the southern part of southern strip. Israel entered Energy Minister Israel Katz said in a statement a week after Israel had stopped supplying water to the entire territory as part of the complete siege on the Palestinian enclave. He said the decision to resume the supply was taken after talks between Netanyahu and US President Joe Biden. Water has already run out and at a United Nations shelter across Gaza as thousands packed into the courtyard of the territory's largest hospital and overwhelmed doctors struggle to care for patients they fear will die once a generator runs out of fuel. Palestinian health workers are storing bodies in ice cream freezer trucks because moving them to hospital is risky and crematories are full. Authorities in Gaza said more than 2,670 people have been killed in the Israeli airstrike so far and nearly 10,000 wounded. Diplomatic efforts. With fear of a conflict spilling over, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken continued his rapid tour of Western Asian nations, seeking to prevent escalations and secure the release of 126 hostages Israel says were taken by Hamas back into Gaza. Arab leaders stressed the need to protect Gaza civilians. The reaction went beyond the right to self-defense, turning into collective punishment, said Egypt President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Renewed clashes on Israel's border with Lebanon on Sunday underscored the danger of a regional spillover. Hamas aimed Hamas armed wing Al Qassam brigades said it fired 20 rockets from Lebanon onto Israeli settlement while Lebanon's Iran-backed group Hezbollah said it targeted barracks in Israel's Hanita with missiles and had inflicted casualties. Israel said it was striking Lebanon in retaliation. No escape possible. Some Palestinians who went south said they were heading back north because they were attacked wherever they went. Hassam Abu Safia, an intensive care doctor on a children ward at Kamal Idwan Hospital in northern Gaza, said the order to evacuate was impossible in this ward. As you can see, there are children who are attached to ventilators, and now we have been asked to evacuate the hospitals. Where should we evacuate these children? He asked. तो इतने दिन में टोटल मतलब 2700 से भी ज़्यादा डेथ्स हो गई हैं मतलब फुल हो गया है पूरा मतलब डेड बॉडी से फुल हो गया है और जो तीसरा पॉइंट है हॉस्पिटल भी फुल है हॉस्पिटल्स आर the next when new investment soared again in Q2 of 2023-24 survey. Base investment announcement in July to September quarter. The second quarter of 2023-24 have dropped to 6.9 lakh crore rupees, 13% lower than in the first quarter and 21.5% down from the year ago, driven by a sharp dip in proposed outlays by the union government and foreign investor and a broad-based contraction across the manufacturing, mining and infrastructure and electricity sector. The decline in investment commitments during Q2 comes on back of a 45.8% sequential decline recorded in the first quarter as per the project's their latest investment survey. A total of 2,238 new projects with an aggregate investment intention of 6.88 lakh crore rupees were announced in Q2 as against 2,745 new projects worth 7.91 lakh crore rupees in Q1, with the projected tally contracting 18.5%. Private investment plans sank for the second quarter in a row, albeit at a slower pace of 0.24% compared to the 62.5% contraction in Q1. Within the 3.93 lakh crore rupees of private investment projects in Q2, announcements from the foreign investors shrank 66.5% from Q1 level to 28,000 crore rupees. Though the domestic private players announced 17.8% larger outlays in Q2, the number of new projects fell to 844 from 1180 in Q1. While public capital expenditure has been driving the investment cycle in recent times, government investment also seemed to have lost streams in the first two quarters. Fresh investment intention sequentially declined 25.6% in Q2 to about 2.96 lakh crore rupees from 3.97 lakh crore rupees in Q1, which marked a 3.2% fall from the previous quarter. Within the government sector, new projects from the union government agencies dropped 47.4% in Q2 following a 20.6% contraction in Q1, bringing proposed outlays between July and September to 1.02 lakh crore rupees from over 2.44 lakh crore rupees in the January to March 2023 period. States investment plans recorded a milder 4.7% shrinkage in Q2 vis-a-vis Q1 when they had crossed 2.03 lakh crore rupees. The irrigation sector, which is usually driven by smaller tickets investment initiated by states, was the only segment to clock a sequential uptick in Q2, with project outlays more than doubling to 12,000 crore rupees from under 5,000 crore rupees in Q1. And made the outlook. With several state assembly elections looming and geopolitical risks to the global economy getting exacerbated amid weak demand conditions, the outlook for the second half of the year is weak on the investment front, said projects today's director and CEO Shaktikant Hegde. Any higher project announcement from the Union government ahead of next year's general election among the states, Odisha, Telangana emerged as the top two states accounting for over a third of proposed investment in the last quarter. Maharashtra, which saw the highest number of new projects 436, worth 78,550 crore rupees, was ranked third, followed by Karnataka with project worth 53,565 crore rupees. Gujarat had the second highest number of projects 222, but was ranked 8th in terms of outlays involved, followed by Madhya Pradesh which piped Tamil Nadu that was ranked 10th with 98 projects worth 22,347 crore rupees. Then next we have Birmingham Port on maritime map with berthing of a fast ship. With just two short blasts of a faint siren, then Hua 15, the first ship to call at the Birmingham International Seaport, scripted a new chapter in the maritime history of Kerala on Sunday. A rousing reception was accorded as the vessel carrying container handling cranes to the under construction port berthed in the presence of a host of dignitaries and a 5,000 odd crowd. After flagging of the berthing, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan said nothing was impossible for Kerala. The call of the first ship at the port once again proves that any crisis, no matter how big, can be overcome through unity. The new port is unlikely to bring in development beyond our imagination. The port will raise the standard of living of people to Kerala to that of middle income earners in the developed countries. He said the port would be one of the state's major contribution to the nation. He added, however, there were attempts by international lobbies to thwart the progress of port. He added, these lobbies were active in Kerala during the construction of the port. In addition, certain commercial lobbies were not keen on such a modern port becoming a reality at Birmingham, with its strategic location just 10 nautical miles from the international shipping route connecting Europe, the Palestine Gulf, and Far East. Birmingham will emerge as the largest private port in Kerala and will be a huge revenue contributor to the state, said. With its strategic location just 10 nautical miles from the international shipping route connecting Europe, the Palestinian Gulf, and Far East, Birmingham will emerge as the largest private port in Kerala and will be a huge revenue contributor to the state, said Karan Adani, the Chief Executive Officer of Adani Port and SEZ Limited. In addition to being the first exclusive transshipment port, Birmingham will also make history as the first semi-automated container terminal in India. It will be a global bunkering hub supplying clean and green fuel like hydrogen and ammonia, said Mr. Adani. Also, Birmingham would be one of the greenest port in the world, a fitting complement to the natural beauty of environment conscious Kerala, we are humbled by this opportunity to leverage our expertise to transform Byzantium, which has the potential to compete with leading port like Colombo, Singapore, and Jebel Ali, added Mr. Adani. Then next is the Israel-Hamas conflict and Musai's analysis. Sooner or later, experts and military observers will busy themselves with analyzing and holding forth on who won this ongoing war between the state of Israel and Hamas. The verdict will not be unanimous and will be largely guided by the personal and national biases of the experts, but there will be no and nor should there be any difference of opinion about who lost. A total failure of intelligence, Hamas lightning brutal and simultaneous attack on several locations in Israel on Saturday, October 7, 2023, stunned, stunned Israel and the international community. The question of how Israel was caught unawares about this operation underlines the fact that it was a total failure of intelligence on the part of Israel as well as the United States. You understandably, the authorities here are reluctant to talk about this matter while this war is going on. Many many fall guys will be found, no doubt, when the inquiries are completed and published. Prima facie, Hamas seems to have done better. The very fact that the Israel had to declare war is a moral booster for Hamas. As for Hamas, it has openly declared war on Israel ever since its foundation. When this writer lived in Gaza from 1997 to 99, most people were convinced that Israel had something to do with Hamas' creation, that the mighty state of Israel, the strongest power in the region, had to officially, through a decision of its war cabinet, declare war is highly flattering to Hamas. In the past, the rocket shower ended the managed to continue its rocket attacks for several days, inflicting extremely heavy, unprecedented casualties on Israel, resulting in many deaths, many more injured, and a massive dislocation of population in the vicinity of Gaza. The world has witnessed unspeakable cruelty by Hamas on innocent men, women, and children in Israel, worthy of undiluted condemnation, but Hamas should be proud of its accomplishment. The fact that the several Palestinian civilians have lost their lives does not seem to worry Hamas too much. They will be declare materials. Hamas has inflicted almost a body blow to the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah, ruled by the Palestinian Liberation Organization, more specifically by the Fatah Party. The position of the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has become untenable, and he might have to resign. Hamas following in the West Bank will increase manifold further support for Hamas on the Arab Street will also increase. Is it also not possible that there will be sneaking on-state admiration, however grudging among some Western countries for the way Hamas has carried out such a well-coordinated operation? In military terms, Israel will of course prevail. Reports suggest that Israel has modified its goal from containing Hamas to eliminating it. How it will go about achieving this objective remains to be seen. Will Israel mount a ground operation into Gaza? It would have to be a massive operation consisting of thousands of troops and both sides on both sides. One can assume that Israel would not wish to One can assume that Israel would not wish to physically reoccupy the Gaza Strip since it would be a kind of death trap. Lost in this war? Who lost in this war? The people on both sides, innocent civilian citizens, would pay heavily for the bloodthirstiness of leaders on both sides. This is not to say that one is suggesting equal blame on both, but it is undeniable that the price for war will be paid by ordinary people. The government of India has thrown its full support behind Israel. No doubt it has done so convinced of the brutality of the attack by Hamas, but also in the belief that this posture will not have the slightest negative fallout among the Arab countries for a long time. The ruling establishment in West Asia and elsewhere have wanted to normalize relations with Israel, which can provide them with much and needed technology and investment opportunity. One should not forget that Kuwait had expelled nearly 1 lakh Palestinian in the early 1990s because Arafat had sided with Saddam Hussein during the first Gulf War. Arab government do not want to do anything with the Palestinian cause, but their citizens will oblige them to rethink their wish to normalize with Israel, including Saudi Arabia's ongoing dialogue with Israel about normalizing relations with Israel. Also, South categorically support for Israel will go down well in Washington. India, for once, is not sitting on the fence as it was in the Ukrainian war. Sari Nusseibeh, an eminent Palestinian intellectual activist and a true Gandhian, if there is one in the world, wrote an extraordinary book that was published in 2011 called What is a Palestinian State Oath. He argues that the state is for people, not the other way around. The state's primary duty is to protect its citizens and to enable them to develop, prosper, and enjoy family life and move around freely within the country. However, the governing group in the government, primarily interested in remaining in power, generate strong patriotic fervor to the extent of a stimulating the people to sacrifice their life to save the country. But this is important if the state knows that it will not and cannot achieve its objective and still preserves in its objective, it will be acting immorally and unethically. According to Musaibe, what right does the state have to willfully sacrifice so many lives for a cause it knows is unattainable? It would be obligatory for the state to dilute its war objective and to seek compromise. Nusaybe's analysis in the case of ongoing war would suggest that both the Israeli government and Hamas know that they simply cannot achieve their respective goals. Hamas is conscious that the state of the Israel can never be destroyed or pushed into the sea. As they say, Israel equally knows that the ideology behind Hamas cannot be eliminated, nor can Hamas as an entity. Thus, both sides are behaving immorally and unethically, publishing ordinary citizens into the jaws of death. The jail for war has spread so deep among the populace that it does not realize that it is being exploited by states for the sake of its and its country's glory. On the Kashmir issue, can Nusaybe's logic be applied to the Kashmir problem? Successive governments in India and Pakistan have known that they cannot achieve their maximalist objective capturing Pakistan occupied Kashmir on the Indian side, capturing the whole Kashmir or at least the valley on the Pakistan side. Applying Nusaybe's logic, preserving in this objective therefore is immoral and unethical should not some compromise, perhaps along the lines of a 4 point formula worked out by the both sides a few years ago, be revived and reconsidered seriously. Then next, the world need to stop taking water for granted. The theme for the World Food Day, October 16 this year, water is life, water is food, calls for urgent action in managing water wisely. Availability or lack of water has become even more critical with increasing climate extremes. Countries face several severe challenges such as drought, floods, unseasonal rains, and prolonged dry spells. With less than 7 years left to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, the International Fund for Agriculture Development, and the United Nations World Food Programme and the United Nations Food Agencies lay stress on the need to adopt innovative and collaborative approaches for improved management, constructive, conservative, and availability of scarce water resources. Water availability affects every aspect of human life, especially food and nutritional security. For instance, about 60% of India's net soil area is rainfed, contributing to 50% of the total food production. However, rainfed agriculture depends directly on water availability, and rain and soil moisture variation can severely affect food and nutrition security. There is an urgent need to adapt to climate change by prompting technology and practices that make rain-fed production more resilient and sustainable. Sustainable water management is critical to address the impeding food and nutrition security threats. In turn, irrigated agriculture accounts for 72% of global freshwater withdrawals, sometimes with the lasting damaging effects of sustainability of significant ecosystems such as seasonal rivers and deep aquifers, water and crop production. Decades of poor water management, misuse and pollution and climate crisis have degraded freshwater supplies and ecosystem, adding to the vulnerability of small scale producers to climate shocks and land degradation in some of the world's most fragile ecosystems. About 40% of the planet's total land area is degraded, leaving the farmers with less productive and productive land. Small scale farmers who would make up more than 80% of farmers globally are especially affected as they often lack access to finance, technology, and irrigation to maintain a level of production that can sustain the livelihoods. Extreme weather events and variability in water availability are severely affecting agricultural production, changing ecological conditions and shifting growing seasons. Changes in rainfall and higher temperature also affect crop productivity, reducing food availability. The government of India has assessed the impact of climate change in 2050 and 2080 using climate projection and crop simulation models. Without adoption measures, rain-fed rice yields in India are projected to reduce by 20% in 2050 and by 47% in 2080 scenarios. When the irrigated rice, one second, yield are projected to decline by 3.5% in 2050 and 5% in 2080 scenario. Wheat yields are projected to decrease by 19.3% in 2050 and 40% in 2080, while kharif maize yields could decline by 18% and 23% in every scenario. Climate change without adequate adaptation measures reduces crop yields and lower the nutritional quality of produce. The FAO is in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Himachal Pradesh, and Maharashtra is piloting a crop forecasting framework and model incorporating climate weather, soil characteristics, and market information to aid rain-fed farmers in making informed decisions contributing to food security. Irrigation can also be an effective measure to make agriculture more resilient and in most cases enable farmers to transform their livelihood by growing consumer and selling high value crops such as nutritious fruits and vegetables. In this context, the WFP supports soil and water conservation, the building of or fixing of the irrigation canals, dams, ponds, and dikes as well as food barriers through the food assistance in exchange for labor. In 2021 alone, 8.7 million people across 49 countries benefited directly from such supports. Similarly, IFAD supports Indian states in leveraging the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act scheme through safeguarding during design through safeguards during designs and planning and encouraging particular participatory institution development. IFAD ensures that micro irrigation infrastructure is environmentally and socially sustainable and financially viable. Climate change adaptation. The FAO also support the sustainable transformation of agri-food systems and climate climate smart agriculture practices improve water use efficacy. It is supported to the farmers water school program in Uttar Pradesh, which helped smallholder farmers. At the same time, in Andhra Pradesh, farmer managed groundwater system project reached out to 638 habitation in 7 drought-prone districts that included a hydrological monitoring program. Similarly, IFAD has enshrined climate change adaptation in its core sector strategies. It is set ambitious targets in terms of leveraging climate financing to mitigate climate change by addressing the adverse impact of agriculture and helping farmers to adapt to the increasing volatility of weather conditions by investing in the restoration and preservation of soil health, water resources, and merging modern technologies with indigenous knowledge system to build productive and resilient production system and value chain. IFAD supported projects in Maharashtra, Odisha, Uttarakhand, Nagaland, and Mizoram incorporate climate resilient seed varieties and crops, including millets, and train farmers in climate sensitive agricultural practices and soil management to cope with the increased water stress. The WFP is collaborating with the Government of Odisha to develop solution for smallholder farmers, focusing on women. The goal is to enhance resilience through solar technology, establish community-based climate advisory services to help manage climate impacts and promote millet value chain that reduces water usage and improve nutrition. Steps needed to achieve goals to achieve global food and nutrition security, political commitment is needed as much as the concrete investment. The needed policies and investment must promote innovative and proven technology that allow farmers to increase their productivity, adapt to climate change, and become more resilient to shock. Environmental and socially sustainable and financially viable irrigation and water management strategies reduce their climate footprint of agricultural production as well as biohazard of and environmental pollution, bring sanitation and drinking water supply closer to rural household, adapt efficient food and water recycling strategies and strengthen institutional arrangements and capacity for sustainable and equitable water regulation management, access and ownership. United Nations Food Agency work closely with the Government of India and state government on innovations such as solar for resilience, secure fishing, and revival of millets for renewable energy promotion, food security, and nutrition. Then next week, Israel, Hamas, and the laws of war. On October 7, Hamas, a Palestine-based terrorist group, launched an attack on Israel, killing hundreds of civilians and taking many hostages. Israel has retaliated with all its might, triggering a war in West Asia. What are the laws of war? There are two separate and independent international law questions related to wars. First, under what condition or when can countries use force in their international relations? This is known as jus ad bellum, regulated by United Nations Charter. Second, how is a war to be fought? That is, what military actions are permissible. This is known as jus in bello. Assuming the as a Assuming a country is justified under UN Charter, a country is justified under the UN Charter to use force, it is still must ensure that it satisfies just in below obligations. Justification to use force does not relieve a country of its obligation to use such force in accordance with international law. The how of using force or the law of war is known as international humanitarian law, which provides the rule that must be followed during an armed conflict. IHL is contained in customary international law, the Geneva Convention of 1949 and the additional protocols of 1977. It regulates the conduct of parties or groups engaged in an armed conflict. It is a primary objective is to protect civilians and reduce the suffering a war only is no matter how just the cause of fighting a war wherein parties must comply with the IHL. Do laws of war apply to ongoing military conflict? Yes, because the military conflict between Israel and Hamas is an armed conflict as was held by International Criminal Tribunal for former Yugoslavia in the prosecutor versus Dosko Tadic. Yes, an armed conflict in international law exists when there is a resort to armed forces between the states or protracted armed violence between government authorities and organized armed groups or between such groups within a state. International law classifies armed conflicts into two categories: international armed conflict (IAC) and non-international armed conflict. According to Common Article 2 of the Geneva Convention, IAC includes all cases of declared war on or any other armed conflict between two or more countries. NIAC includes non-governmental forces. Hamas involved in battle with governmental forces. Israel Common Article 3 of Geneva Convention applies to NIAC. Thus, Israel and Hamas be obliged to abide by the IHL. What about civilian killing? The primary objective of IHL is that during an armed conflict, a distinction is always made between combatants and civilians. War parties can only attack combatant and military targets, not civilian and civilian objects. In indiscriminate attack that fail to distinguish between combatant and the civilian are forbidden and thus illegal. According the killing of civilians. Accordingly, the killing of civilians by Hamas is illegal. Israel's illegal and belligerent occupation of the Palestinian territory since 1967 does not allow Hamas to kill, injure, abduct, or torture Israel civilian or target civilian installations. Also, any military attack that causes disproportionate harm to civilians when judged against the expected military benefit is barred. Israel reportedly dropped 6,000 bombs in Gaza, causing widespread destruction and death. This is a disproportionate use of force. Hamas' horrific attack on Israel does not justify Israel inflicting disproportionate harm on the civilian population in Gaza. All this amounts to grave breaches of 1949 Geneva Convention and constitutes as war crimes. In hostage taking legal, Hamas was taken Israel's hostage. This is illegal. Hostage taking is especially recognized as a war crime by the Article 8 of the Rome Statute, a treaty enabling establishing the International Criminal Court. Article 1 of the International Convention against the taking of hostages recognizes hostage taking as a crime. What about Gaza Strip blockade? Israel's plan to block the supplies of food, electricity, water, and fuel in Gaza Strip, where close to the 2 million people have live amounts to collective punishment, retaliating against the group for the conduct of individuals said to belong to that group. This action will exacerbate the already harassed air and sea blockade of the Gaza Strip since 2007. Such an action violates a fundamental tenet of IHL that no person should be punished for actions they did not commit. Punishing all Gaza Strip residents for Hamas actions is illegal and war crime and a war crime. Additionally, under IHL warring, parties must give advance warning to civilians to evacuate before attacking, which should be effective if civilians are not given adequate time to evacuate. The warning will be ineffective. Israel's warning to the resident of Gaza Strip is not effective given the air and sea blockade. The civilians do not have a realistic possibility of moving to safe places in any case. Civilians who do not move out despite the warning must also be protected. Both sides needed to respect their IHL obligations and an investigation should be launched into the war crime committed. The next day, the United Nations approved a Kenya-led security mission to Haiti. Around a year after Haiti approved the United Nations seeking urgent help to combat deadly gang violence, the United Nations Security Council has approved international intervention in the form of a foreign security missions led by Kenya to restore security, protect critical infrastructure and control firing violence in the country. Haiti has experienced a surge in violence over the past years as armed groups took over a large part of the groups, including the capital port of Prince. This has resulted in killings in nearly 2,800 people, including 8 minors between October 2022 and June 2023. Why is United Nations sending a mission to Haiti? Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry first sought international support to assist the National Police in October last year after the country plunged into a crisis when a group of gangs called G9 and family seized control of entry of a main fuel port barracks in the capital protesting the Prime Minister's decision to cut fuel subsidies. The blockade brought the country to a standstill and led to massive shortage. The lack of gas and diesel adversely affected transportation and forced several hospitals and other medical institutions that relied on fuel-powered generators to halt operation. A UNICEF report at the time claimed that the operation three-quarters of the country's major hospitals were hit due to the blockade. To make matters worse, there was a shortage of bottled water in the backdrop of a new outbreak of cholera as the crisis and overwhelmed the short-staffed police force. Haitian leaders turned to the international community for help, seeking a specialized armed force and to counter gangs and their censors. However, the US and the United Nations were hesitant to take the lead. The stalemate ended in July this year after Kenya proposed to head the multinational force. Following which the resolution was forwarded to United Nations Security Council. What do you know about the mission? Unlike the United Nations peacekeeping mission to the Haiti that ended in 2017, the multinational security missions will not be operated by United Nations. Kenya has volunteered to lead the force. Other countries like Bahamas, Jamaica, and Antigua and Barbuda has also offered support. The resolution says that the force will provide operational support to Haitian National Police, including building its capital to capacity to counter gangs, improve security conditions in the country, and secure ports, airports, and critical intersections. Notably, the resolution adds that the force will have the authority to make arrests in the coordination with Haitian police. It also tend to create a favorable condition in the country to pave the way for election. Polls have not taken place in Haiti since 2016. The strength of the force in Haiti has not been specified in the resolution. Although decisions suggest that the 2000 personnel would be part of the mission, while the US has made it clear that it won't spend its troops, it has pledged a $100 million in logistical support like intelligence, communication, airlift operations, and medical aids. While the deployment date is yet to be announced, Kenyan Foreign Minister Alfred Mutua was quoted as saying the Associated Press that the force could deploy within 2 or 3 months or possibly early January, but led to the delay. Haiti's trouble past with foreign military intervention is being viewed as the primary Reason for the delay in the development, the last time a force was sent to stabilize Haiti was in 2004 when former Haitian President Jean Bertrand Arcticide was overthrown in a rebellion. This was followed by the United Nations peacekeeping mission, which went on from 2004 to 17. The mission was marred by allegations during its deployment in the country's wage runoff from the peacekeeper camp was blamed for causing a cholera epidemic which saw more than 10,000 deaths. There were also serious allegations of sexual abuse against the United Nations peacekeepers. Since then, Haitian have been skeptical about the interventions of a foreign armed forces. Moreover, countries were wary of lending support of PM Henry, who does not enjoy the popular support of Haitian. The next study estimate counts the UAV required for the three services. The Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan said recently offered two studies to be conducted on major military platforms used by the three services. According to defense sources, these platforms are unmanned aerial vehicles and armored helicopters. The study on the UAV has since been completed with a recommendation to acquire 31 MQ-9B high altitude long endurance HALE UAV and 155 medium altitude long endurance MEL UAVs. The studies undertaken by tri-services service team are meant to optimize the number of platforms required as well as the resources and avoid duplications. A defense source with knowledge of the matter explained the first study was conducted in August September and the report has been finalized for the second study. To the term of reference are currently being finalized and a study is expected to begin in a month or two. Sources independently confirmed that broad outcomes of the study on the UAVs was a requirement for 31 MQ-9B HALE UAVs and 155 MALE UAVs, while the deal for MQ-9B is in progress. The division of 155 MALE UAVs among the three services is yet to be decided. The second source said the three services operated a large number of Israeli Heron-Mel web is a major upgrade to weaponize and incorporate satellite communication on these UAVs estimated to cost 21,000 crore rupees has been pending for several years. Following the study, officials have expressed confidence that this will now get cleared in June. The Defense Ministry has cleared the procurement of 31 MQ-9B UAVs for General Atomics, 15 Sea Guardians for the Navy and 8 Sky Guardians. Each for the Army and the Air Force and at an estimated cost of $3,072 million through the US foreign military sales routes. Last month, just ahead of talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Joe Biden on the sidelines of G20 summit, the Defense Ministry issued the letter of request to the United States government based on the LOR. The US government and the ministry will finalize the letter of offer and acceptance LOA, where details of equipment and the term of procurement would be negotiated and finalized. Army to get Apaches. The Air Force has it traditionally been responsible for operating attack helicopters over the past decades, and the Army has sought to operate attack helicopters on its own in support of its strike formation. The Army Aviation Corps recently inducted the first batch of light combat helicopter. Both the Army and the Air Forces are inducting the initial batch of 15 LCH, a bigger deal for 156 LCH, 90 for the Army and 66 for the Air Force, and estimated to 45,000 crore rupees is awaiting government's approval. The Cabinet Committee of Security on Security has already given in principle sanctions for a procurement of 39 AH-64 Apache attack helicopters from the US. The Air Force has since inducted 22 AH-64E Apache under a deal signed in September 2015. At this point, the government decided that any further Apache procurement would go to the Army. India signed a deal for 6 more Apache for the Army at a cost of around $800 million in February 2020. The Army will start receiving them from February 2024. The Army has been publicly pushing a case for 11 more Apache, and preliminary discussions are on with Boeing, with the study on armored helicopter due sources said progress on additional Apache would be based on the outcomes. The next is center likely to raise the age of retirement of scientists to 65. The Science and Technology Ministry is working on a proposal to increase the retirement age of scientists to 65. Its larger purpose sources suggest is to stem the flight of its top senior scientists to universities and the Indian Institute of Technology, where the retirement age is 65. The has learned as present. Scientist is the most wings of the government retired at 60, while these working at the Indian Council of Agricultural Research and Indian Council of Medical Research retire at 62. October 6 note. A note by the ministry is issued on October 6 this year says that a proposal for enhancement of retirement age of scientists in autonomous bodies of science department ministries is underway. This note sent to 14 autonomous bodies funded by the Department of Science and Technology asked the heads of the institutes to furnish the total sanctioned strength of scientists in their AB autonomous bodies. The number of scientists is retiring in next 5 years, November 23 to March 28, and additional financial implication of the enhanced retirement as the Hindu has reviewed this note. Abhay Karamdikar, who took charge as a secretary in the ministry on October 3, said he was unaware of the note and declined the comment. The Department of Biotechnology and DST come within the MOST sources in the ministry told the Hindu that the proposal stemmed from the DBT, where over the years concerns have been raised that several senior scientists approaching retirement were quitting institutes for career in academia. But parity goal, the aim is to bring parity. Why should our ministry affiliated scientists be disadvantaged? However, it is still an early stage proposal and under discussion. A senior scientist aware of matters told the Hindu. The DBT has reportedly already sent the details of eligible scientists for evaluation. Scientists who work in autonomous institutions of the Ministry of Earth Science are also likely to come within the ambit of the proposal. 2015 proposal shelved. This is not the first time that the government has mooted raising the retirement age of the scientist. A draft cabinet note in 2015 led by the ministry had said the move would be bring parity in service conditions of research scientists working in different arms of the government. So far, the general trend in the ministry has been to give the scientists nearing retirement extension that may increase in their tenure by 2 or up to 5 years. The Modi government, one scientist said, has done away with such extension and instead opted for short-term contracts to retain valuable senior employees. However, in 2015, the proposal, despite being discussed publicly at the high levels of government, appears to have been buried. The next day, Kaziranga Sanctuary reopens with a tribute to British era officers. The Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve reopened on Saturday Sunday with a literary tribute to a British era forest officer who redates a name of any hunting connotations. The 1300 square kilometer reserve, the world's safest addresses for the one unhorned rhinos, opens annually for tourists in October. The plan for a nature and wildlife sanctuary specific library at the Centenary Convention Center in the Pohora area of Kaziranga could most materialize in 2020 because of COVID-19 COVID outbreak named after the patriarch D. Serke. The library was inaugurated on a Sunday. Tarsi, who was born in Andhra Pradesh, Kakinada, served as an Indian Forest Service officer in Assam. He played a key role in naming the Kaziranga Game Sanctuary as a wildlife sanctuary in 1950. He also established the Assam Forest School and Training Institute catering to the northeastern region. The PD Tarse library office offers readers books and magazines on the world of nature apart from the merchandise to take memories of Kaziranga homes. The initiative is a tribute to the legendary forest officer Kaziranga's field director Sonali Ghosh said the next railway development develops anti-freeze process and fuel tanks for journey in Jammu and Kashmir. The process of linking Kashmir and Kashmir to Kanyakumari through a new Udham Srinagar Baramulla rail link project poses a unique challenge to the railways in maintaining water and fuel in liquids from in sub-zero temperature during the winter to circumvent the problem of water freezing in toilets and fuel tanks. And engineers at the Railcoach factory in Kapurthala have designed and implemented indigenous innovations while the LHB whose design is prominently used by railways it did not have temperature control system in winter temperature in Jammu and Kashmir region plummet to -8 to -10 -12 degrees Celsius. There is a problem if the water freezes in tanks process and toilets won't work as the water won't get circulated. There will be no supply of water in the taps. Another major challenge is that if the water tank is full, there is a hazard that it will develop cracks and burst. As ice has the tendency to expand. Akhilesh Mishra, Chief Design Engineer RCF, said Mr. Mishra said that the RCF has designed the double-walled composite insulated water tank of capacities ranging between 450 liters and 685 liters. The water tank mimics thermoplastic bottles with two walls and an insulation layer of foam in the middle which trap the air. This will maintain water in liquid form in sub-zero condition from 16 to 20 hours. The water may remain cold, but it won't freeze, Mr. Mishra said. In another innovation, the RCF has borrowed technology from the defense services to tackle the problem of freezing water in supply pipelines. We are using heated pipes with a distributed heating system covered by insulated insulation. The water will remain cold at 5 to 8 degrees Celsius in liquid forms, Mr. Mishra said. To contain energy loss, geysers will be deployed at the point of use in toilets where only as much water as is needed by the users will be heated as a similar technology is being deployed in the fuel tanks for locomotive by the RCF. The 111-kilometer long railway stretch from Katra in Jammu and to Banihal in Kashmir is slated to be functional before March next year when the national elections are due. Then next है Pakistan, China to ink deal under CPEC during Tucker's visit. China and Pakistan will ink significant agreement regarding motorways and highways during caretakers. Prime Minister Anwarul Haq Tucker's 4-day visit to Beijing starting on Monday. According to a media report on October 15, the arrangements agreement would be signed under the $60 billion China-Pakistan Economic Corridor Program drawn news Separ reported BRF meet. Mr. Kakkar would travel to Beijing on October 16 to participate in the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation for October 17 to 18. A significant memorandum of understanding scheduled to be signed is related to the establishment of a modern highway research and training center (HRPC) with China's assistance. The PM's office said the project will prominently take center stage during the Prime Minister's discussion with the Chinese authority. It added. Then आज का लास्ट आर्टिकल है अजरबैजान प्रेसिडेंट रेजेस नेशनल फ्लैग इन करबाख कैपिटल. तो फ्रेंड्स ये थोड़ा आप लोग देख लेंगे है ना. अजरबैजान का रिलेटेड है ये आर्टिकल. So this is all for today and we will meet from tomorrow onwards with new news articles from the Hindu newspaper. So thank you a lot. Thanks all.